Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
Coming home, Cindy. Kevin smiled. Cindy answered with a slight note of sadness in her voice. Why are you sad? I'm sorry, maybe I'm prying, but it seems to me that it's easier to open your soul to a random fellow traveler. If you want, you can tell me what happened to you, and you'll see, you'll feel better. Cindy looked at the strange man in surprise. Don't even doubt it, he explained with a smile. We've been in the same carriage for almost 24 hours. So we are not such strangers. And in a few hours we'll leave the carriage and go our separate ways forever. Well, maybe you're right. You see, I seem to be going home, but I don't seem to have anything or anyone at home or relatives. Kevin, finally confused after the words of the girl, is not quite clear. Do you live in a communal apartment? Tried to solve the riddle. No, that's not it. Cindy shook her head and smiled sadly. The problem is the people around me. You see, when I was a little girl, I used to think I was Cinderella. I had a stepmother, stepbrother, and sister too. And sadly, an equally silent, spineless father. Every night before I went to bed, I dreamed that one day a prince would come and take me to his fairy tale. The girl fixed a strand of blonde hair, discreetly wiping away a tear. Don't be shy. There's nothing wrong with crying. But when you cry, it becomes easier. Seriously, said the guy. And in Los Angeles, what did you do, if it's not a secret? Sure. No, wait, don't answer that. I'll try to guess. You, like many provincial girls, decided that you could conquer our hospitable Los Angeles. I guessed. No, you didn't. Unlike, as you put it, many provincial girls realistically assess the situation and understand where I belong. Cindy said with a sad smile. I studied, spent 3 years in Los Angeles, and graduated from medical school. And here we go back. Come on, don't feel bad. You're young. You're beautiful. You have your whole life ahead of you. Besides, I have no doubt that your prince will find you. And your fate will turn out just fine. Why are we all talking about me? I'm trying to change the subject. Cindy, why have you come to our little town? My story is much more boring and banal than yours, Kevin explained. A 3-day business trip. Suddenly, the door of the carriage opened, and the conductor reminded us that we would be staying soon. The young men finished their dialogue and fidgeted with preparations to get out. Good luck to you, Cindy. Don't be sad, Kevin waved as they stood on the platform. Thank you too, she smiled. It was very stuffy on the streetcar at rush hour, but Cindy had no choice and no money for a cab. When she finally got home after driving through the city, she was surprised. Instead of the usual door with a leather lock, there was a solid iron door. Taking out a bunch of keys and trying to insert one of them into the keyhole, she immediately realized that the idea was not a good one. Even at first glance, it was clear that the key did not fit. The lock, as well as the doors, were new. Folding the bundle back into her bag, the girl pressed the call button. But no matter how many times she called, no one ever opened. There was no one at home. What kind of people are you? I gave a telegram, warned that tonight I'm coming back. Resented the girl, pushing down the stairs, a heavy suitcase, sitting down on a bench at the entrance. She accepted and waited for the return of her relatives. It had long since gone dark outside. It began to work a small, nasty rain. Cindy now and then looked at his windows in the hope that there was about to light up. Cindy heard a girl, a familiar voice. Auntie. Maria, hello, rejoiced Cindy, seeing the neighbor living on the first floor. How did you grow up? The girl has become a real beauty. Admired Maria. Wait, why are you here? And with a suitcase. What do you mean, why? I came home. I went to Los Angeles. The girl laughed. I was gone for 3 years, and to be honest, I wanted to stay in Los Angeles. Well, I tried there and realized I'd rather go back to my hometown. It's easier here, yeah. So I guess you don't know anything. The woman covered her mouth with her hand and shook her head from side to side. Oh, you poor thing, you're my poor girl. What are you talking about here? Maria, I don't understand you. To be honest, you scare me. Who did you go back to? My dear, to my father. He was buried a year ago. Risapa immediately sold the apartment and left town. The woman explained. What do you mean Daddy's gone? The girl cried. What happened to her? And how could she sell the apartment? I'm a resident here. I don't understand anything. Cindy clutched her head. I don't even know anything. Risapa. I mean, your stepmother wasn't your favorite. She didn't talk to the neighbors, practically said hello only once in a while when she was in the mood. My God, what's going on? Forbid again, Maria thought. We should go to the district police officer. Right now. And it is necessary to leave the girl on the street. People have no conscience. Thank you, Maria, I'll definitely go. Cindy shrugged it off and sat down on the bench again. She wanted to be alone and think about what she had heard. Or better still, to scream with grief and resentment. Of course, she had never been in a relationship of trust with her father, but he was the only relative on earth. She loved him and knew for a fact that he loved her too, just doesn't show it. And now she's all alone, and without a roof over her head. Cindy, where will you spend the night? Maria came to her senses. Come to my place. You'll get some rest from the road, and in the morning you'll go to the police station. Tell him to kick those crooks out. I'm sure they bought your apartment illegally. Legally, it's yours. Maria, I don't want to bother you. You have a very large family, children, grandchildren. What will they say? Well, first of all, I'm not a Jew, I'm calling you. And what do you propose to sleep on the bench, idiot? Sure, said the neighbor, extending her hand to Cindy. As they say, in tight quarters, but not an offense. Thank you, whispered the girl, obediently following the old woman. Maria fed her from the road and gathered the whole family for a council. The neighbor's husband, Peter, having heard the whole story of Cindy, shook his head and sighed heavily. It's a fact that Anna sold the apartment. I've talked to the new tenants many times and helped them carry their things, he said. I have no doubt that Anna is a con artist. How dashing. And most importantly, how quickly she pulled this deal off. One thing I do know, she sold it cheap. The new owner was all happy she could buy an apartment in a decent neighborhood for such a ridiculous price. So what? Aunt Maria was outraged. Are you saying that the girls now live on the street or in the basement is illegal? She didn't give her consent to the sale. Finally, she's registered there. It's her father's apartment. And she's the only heir. Cindy, listening to the conversations between the two adults, was in a state of shock. She silently listened to them, now and then, transferring the neighbor's gaze to her husband and back. And she could not even imagine, when she was going to return home to her father, that she had neither father nor home. So there's no point in talking in vain, Peter said confidently. Do not worry. Tomorrow we'll go together to the district police officer. And now let's sleep. I feel that tomorrow we will have a hard day. And the next morning the two of them were sitting in front of the young policeman. He, having listened to the visitors, only spread his hands. Write a statement. What can I do? Well, at the very least, check their apartment papers. I can assure you they're in order. Or maybe you did agree to the sale, took your share, and now decided to play dumb and return the apartment. The policeman suggested, looking intently at Cindy. So I warn you that such actions are criminally punishable. Are you out of your mind? Pissed off Peter. She's just back in town. The girl went to Los Angeles for 3 years. She didn't even know her father had been gone a year. And you're talking shit about her. Look at her passport. It's got a residence permit on it. How is that possible? How should I know? I'm telling you, go to the station. Bellowed the district officer. The police reluctantly accepted the statement and assured that in the near future they would deal with everything. When exactly was Peter's question? Where should she live this time? I have no idea, shrugged the investigator, and added we cannot provide housing for the victims. All I can promise from my side is to check the information in the near future. Come and see me in, say, a week. Cindy left the police station with tears in her eyes. There she realized that no one was going to solve her problem, and the police wouldn't look into it much. Don't cry, the neighbor said sternly. Tears will definitely not help now. If in a week there will be no news, we'll go to the prosecutor's office. Do not worry, we will not leave you in trouble. Thank you very much, thanked the girl. But you do not worse than me understand that I cannot live all the time. Your investigation will take longer. So I don't know what to do. And it makes me feel sick at heart. I can't live on the street. I should have stayed in Los Angeles." And big tears ran down the girl's cheeks. "Hey, did you go to school for something in Los Angeles?" The old man tried to distract her from her sad thoughts. "At the nurse," the girl exclaimed. "I graduated from medical school." "Wait, that changes everything," Peter exclaimed. "Our hospital is short-staffed, and when I retired, I worked there as a watchman part-time. That's why I know. So let's go right now, and we'll solve the housing issue." "Well, it's okay to squeeze in for a while. And tonight we'll visit your apartment and talk to the new landlady." "Do they live there now?" Cindy asked. "It's just that I sat up till dark yesterday, but I didn't wait for anyone." "Of course they do. A young woman with 2 kids and an old mom. As far as I know, she's divorced from her husband. They sold the house, jointly owned. They split the money, so she used her share of the money to buy this apartment. I'm telling you, she was excited. She thought she'd have to live in the suburbs. And then she got lucky," the neighbor explained. Peter immediately decided that the girl would not leave her in trouble. He knew her father, too. Yes, and Cindy from a small age in the hospital. They immediately went to the head doctor. Anthony, having listened to the recommendations of the watchman, gladly accepted the girl to work. "Now run to the personnel department. Tell them that I asked to register you in traumatology, and tomorrow morning I'll wait for you in the department on the 2nd floor. Jack will show you around," says the chief of medicine. "Well, at least you're lucky for something." Tiredly, smiling, said the girl, leaving the hospital. "I don't know how to thank you, Peter. It would have been hard for me without your help." In the morning, Cindy was happy to go to work. Peter was on duty that day, so he took her straight to the ward and put her in the safe hands of the head nurse. It was about time Lucy was glad. 2 nurses had recently gone on maternity leave. "It's like an epidemic," she laughed. "Well, let's go, dear. I'll show you around and tell you all about it." Cindy looked around the clean, cozy ward with curiosity, noticing 2 beds with patients at the end of the corridor. "I was very surprised. Are there not enough places for everyone in the wards?" she asked Lucy. "Oh, we have plenty of room," he waved his hand. 3 rooms are empty. But that's the bums. They always lie in the corridor. I can't believe it. How many infestations are there? Cindy finally approached one of the homeless. She was curious. The man was very young, and as she thought, he didn't look like a homeless person. Yes, his face was all dirty with abrasions. And when she took a closer look, she shrieked and turned to Lucy. "It's not a bum," Cindy said. "I know that man. What's happened to him? Why is he in this state? I have no idea. He can't tell us anything intelligible, just mumbles. Maybe we're not the ones the ambulance brought him in yesterday. And if I'm not mistaken, they picked him up at the train station. How do you know him?" Lucy was surprised. "I met him on the train in the same car from Milwaukee. His name is Kevin. He came to our city on a business trip for 3 days. What kind of a bum is he?" The girl was outraged by the attitude of the medical staff to a man who, in all likelihood, was in trouble. "Well, what should we have thought?" The head nurse tried to justify herself. "He can't say anything himself. All dirty." "Well, let's go. We have to go. We have a lot of work to do." Cindy went to see Kevin more than once that day, but the boy didn't wake up. The doctor assured her it was normal. He was on medication. "Cindy, where are you walking around with a disgruntled tone?" asked Lucy. "Did you do everything I told you to do?" "Yes, I'm all done," she replied. "Good. Then you are free for today. By the way, here's the duty schedule for the month. Look at it and write it down for yourself." Cindy was ready to say that she was ready to work around the clock without any schedule. After all, she had nowhere to live anyway. In fact, she was a homeless person, not those patients who had no place even in a free room. But realizing that no one here was interested in her problems, she decided to keep silent. "How are your impressions of your first day at work?" Aunt Maria smiled. "It's fine. Only my legs are buzzing with fatigue. But in general, I like this kind of work very much. I've dreamed of being a doctor since I was a child. Although it didn't work out, but a nurse is also a worthy profession. What do you think? Is there any other way?" Completely agree with you, affirmatively nodded neighbor. And what about the apartment? Any news? You just do not think that I just want to send you away as soon as possible. I'm worried sick. No. The investigator said not before next week. And today Peter and I decided to visit the new tenants. To see what's going on. Grandpa frowned, sinking back into his sad thoughts. After dinner, when he and his neighbor went outside, the girl's heart snapped at the windows. Her apartment light was on. Perfect. So they're home. Did you take your passport? The man clarified. And Cindy nodded affirmatively, going up to the 4th floor. The girl knocked cautiously on the door. When the woman opened it, she did not hide her surprise, noticing the uninvited guests on the threshold. Good evening, Emily, Peter said. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Yes, we were in the village at my mother's. We harvested the last crop. We won't go till spring. Mom's very weak, and there's not much to do there in winter. The woman explained. You see, Emily, we have a situation here. I don't know how to explain it to you, Peter said. In general, this girl Cindy is registered in your apartment now. She has lived here since she was born, and the apartment was sold without her consent. What is this joke about? Emily laughed nervously. Where could she have gotten a propiska from? Here Cindy held out the woman's unfolded passport. What difference does it make? The new landlady saw them off. I bought this apartment, I have all the paperwork, and you're scammers. I'll call the police now. I've been to the police. They said they'll look into it. The girl said sadly, Emily, don't be angry. I've known Cindy since she was a little girl. I've watched the girl grow up. She's decent and she doesn't lie. She and her stepmother Wendy, who sold you the apartment. They never got along. And when Cindy graduated high school in Milwaukee, she went to college. I didn't come home for 2 reasons. One, she didn't want to see her mom, who hated her. And the second reason was she didn't have extra money to travel. She lived for 3 years on one scholarship, often starving, and after graduating, she returned home. Now she found out that her father died a year ago, and her stepmother sold the apartment. That's just the way it is. All right, let's go to the kitchen. Emily has turned from anger to grace. I think we all need to calm down and talk about this in detail. I'll show you the paperwork, and you can make sure everything's in order. But as expected, they never reached a consensus. Each was right in his own way. Yeah, it's tough, sighed Peter. Not without the police. One thing I'm sure of is that we should look for the money from the sale of the apartment to be returned. The next day, Cindy went to see her boss. After a long conversation and a check of documents, it turned out that the girl had been discharged from the apartment. Here, look, recognize your signature. Strictly asked the man. Frowned his eyebrows. Looks like, stretched Cindy. But I didn't sign, I just physically couldn't do it because I was out of town at the time. I can prove it. You can't fool me. She got mad. So you're implying that I signed for you? In a disgruntled tone. Asked the man. Well, maybe not you, but the fact that you have flourishing corruption and crime is a fact. Tomorrow I will file a complaint with the prosecutor's office, and I hope they will bring you to the light. Cindy threatened and left with a loud slam of the door. Your acquaintance bum is awake, said Lucy, seeing the tape entering the ward. He's not a bum, but thanks anyway. At least one good news for today. The girl was happy. Can I go to him? Don't hurry, he doesn't remember anything anyway. He's completely lost his memory. He doesn't even know his name. The cops are coming today. Tell them what you know about him. So I know nothing about him except his name and you yourself. I shrugged. And that he came here on a business trip. I also know he lives in Los Angeles. See how much information you're telling me? You don't know anything. That's what you're gonna tell the coroner. I think somebody's looking for him in Los Angeles. Cindy was upset when she saw Kevin, but the guy was a mess. Pale, skinny, with a disconnected, lost look. He was nothing like the confident, good-looking guy she'd met the other day. Hi, do you remember me? Cindy smiled. You and I were in the same car from Milwaukee, almost talking the whole way. The guy scrutinized the girl's face, but by the look on his face, it was clear he was seeing her for the first time. No, shook his head negatively. I never realized it was so unpleasant. What exactly it was Cindy didn't understand. Lying there as a vegetable and knowing nothing about his past. It's kind of scary. Do you know me? Tell me my name. Who am I? Kevin asked hopefully. Your name is Kevin. You're a funny guy. You live in Los Angeles, and you're here on a business trip. Well, that's pretty much all I know. We were just traveling companions. Kevin, don't worry. The doctor said your memory will come back soon. It happens. The girl tried to cheer up the young man. Kevin covered his head with a blanket and turned his back to the wall, signaling that the conversation was over. After lunch, Cindy was called to the resident's office to talk to the investigator. Upon seeing the girl, the authorities were extremely surprised. Again, you smirked, boy. Cindy was a little disappointed when she saw the very investigator that was supposed to settle her case. Good afternoon, David. Frankly, I'm surprised. I wondered if you were the only specialist in town, Cindy said sarcastically. Kevin's had a hard enough time as it is, and now you're here to add to the misery. You're here about him. Yes? As you can see for yourself, I'm a very busy man, so instead of being sarcastic, why don't you tell me what you know about him? Not much really. I know he's from Milwaukee, name of Kevin, here on a business trip. But that's all he said. Not much. Do you have any information about the train you were on? A number, like a date, a seat car number. That would be very helpful. Of course, I have a ticket in my purse. I left it, so to speak, for memory, smiled the girl. Digging in her purse, she took out the ticket and dictated to the investigator all the information he was interested in. So I had the third seat, and Kevin had the top shelf opposite me, so second. The investigator wrote it all down and said, "Thank you. You really have been an invaluable help. What about your housing issue? Has it been resolved yet?" "No. Yesterday I was at the housing office, and there it turned out that in some unbelievable way I was discharged from it. I even have my signature on the paperwork, but it's forged because I was out of town at the time. I was in Los Angeles for school. Even there, it's interesting." "Don't worry, Cindy, I'll be sure to look into it," David assured her. "Thank you," she smiled. "It hurts to tears when no one cares about you, and no one even tries to look into your problem." The investigator left, promising to come back in the morning. The head of the department, who had unwittingly witnessed their conversation, inquired about Cindy's housing problems. And when she told him everything, he sighed heavily and said, "Oh yeah, how scary is it to live for money? People are willing to do anything for money. I agree with you. It never even occurred to me that I would ever be on the street." Cindy smiled. "Thanks to the neighbors, they didn't leave me here. They took me in for a while. But I realize I can't stay with them for long. They're huddled in a cramped apartment themselves. And then there's me and my problems. Listen, maybe I can help you," the man suddenly said. "How? Very simple. We'll give you a ward. The ward is spacious and empty rooms. We always have all the conditions: shower, dining room, laundry, live, do not want to. So if you are satisfied with this option, you can live until the police sort out your problem." Liam said, "Are you serious?" Cindy clapped her hands in delight. "I don't even know how to thank you." "I do. If it's not too much trouble, take a few extra shifts, because my girls have been asking for vacations for a year. This way, I can take turns letting them go." "Deal. Sure, I'd love to. Especially since work will be my home now." I smiled at the field. Well, it's not forever. Things will work out in your life. To cheer her up, Liam. And the investigator, as promised, ran off the next morning. And the guy looked very puzzled. "What's up? Any news?" he asked Cindy. "No. Kevin's been quiet all the time, not talking to anyone." "Did you find out anything about him?" "Yes, but it didn't get any easier," sighed the young man. "The paperwork says he was driving in that spot." "Jacob, there's no record of a man by that name in Los Angeles. No one's looking for him." "How could that be?" Cindy wondered. "And why would he go by the name Kevin?" "Well, everything suggests that our friend's documents are fake. I'm going to take his fingerprints now, and I beg you very much. Try to remember every little detail and come and see me when you're free. I need to record your testimony." Well, tiredly, said Cindy. Kevin asked with hope in his voice when he saw her again. Yes, of course, I'll help you. But as you will have to tell me everything from the beginning. I'm ready, but not now, as you realize, and not here. I need to escape from the hospital and hide somewhere for a while, the boy said quietly. Well, let's say I can help you leave the hospital unnoticed. But otherwise I live in the hospital myself, the girl smiled. And if I give you money, can you rent me a place? What kind of money are you talking about? Kevin, you were found in serious condition. You had neither papers nor money on you. The police suspect you've been robbed. I have the money. It's in a safe deposit box at the railroad station in a purse. Here's what we'll do. I'll give you the box number and the code. You take it all and rent a place for a month. Okay, all right, Cindy agreed. Tomorrow's my day off. I think I can do it in a day. I quickly found the right box. The girl took out a purse without any problems. Without checking its contents, she stuffed it into a bag and returned to the hospital. Kevin, with a detached look, was lying in bed and staring at the ceiling with all his appearance depicting indifference to what was going on around him. You gotta admit, he's an actor. He's beautiful. Cindy thought, maybe it's not as easy as it looks. In the net were papers in the name of Kevin. The photo was Kevin too. Los Angeles registration. Cindy wrote all the passport information on the sheet just in case, and putting Kevin's things away, she went to find a suitable apartment. Having rented a small dwelling on the outskirts of the city, she had already returned to the department by evening. After waiting for everyone to go to bed, Cindy went to the guy. What's up? How are you doing? Quietly inquired Kevin. I'm all done, but I think you need a couple more days in the hospital. What's the rush? Cindy suggested. No, it's dangerous. They might find me here. I wouldn't want that. The boy said seriously. The sooner I leave the hospital, the better. You can get me out today. Yeah, I'll get some clothes, change, and you wait for me. I'll be there in a couple hours. Deep in the night, she left the room silently. Kevin was fully prepared. Nodding to the guy, she led him down the stairs to the exit and opened the emergency exit door. Phew, we made it. Overjoyed, the guy exhaled. We're in the hospital. The field smiled. It would be easy to escape from here. But to be honest, I really doubt the right thing to do. Well, don't doubt it. You should think about the fact that you saved my life today, Kevin said. Well, why don't you share? What kind of story you got yourself into? I don't have time. Come to my place. We'll sit in a quiet atmosphere, and I'll tell you everything. By the way, why do you live in a hospital? It's also a long story, smiled the girl. The address of the apartment and the keys in your grid is paid for a month. Just like you asked. Thank you, Cindy. Sincerely thanked the guy when you come to me. But no, I'm definitely not coming to see you. If you want to meet and talk, let's go to the park where the fountain is. You know, if it's convenient, tomorrow at 2 o'clock. That's fine. I'll be waiting, Kevin smiled. I hope you don't get in trouble. I don't think so. I'm sure they won't think anything of me. Once again, this is a hospital, not a prison. Throwing herself off Kevin, Cindy locked the door and, returning the keys to the nurse's station, simply waved to her room. She really wanted to believe that she had done the right thing, that Kevin hadn't lied to her, and she had helped him stay out of trouble. When she noticed that dawn was breaking outside the window, she lay down to rest. There were only a few hours left before her shift started. Hello, everyone. Cindy fake yawned and smiled. It had been a long time since she had slept so soundly. Almost slept through my shift. Good for you, grumbled the nurse. The staff sleeps soundly. Sick people stagger in at night. We're all gonna get our asses kicked today, except for you. I guess you had the day off. What happened? Cindy did her best to act surprised. What happened was that he vaporized. Lucy explained. Maybe you know where it went without realizing what kind of bum you're talking about. You're not awake yet, Cindy, the one who lost his memory. We've been looking for him for the last hour and a half. We've been looking for him. Maybe he went for a walk. He got lost and can't remember which ward he was in. Well, it's possible, but I don't know. Got the field packed. A minute later, a nurse came into the office out of breath. Is there any news? Lucy asked hopefully. Oh, the whole department offended. But the duty said that on the second floor on the stairs was open window. Apparently, through it escaped, as he did not get out of bed. Not really. Surely he's lost, Cindy pronounced, making surprised looks. That's it. Time to call the police. There's no point in looking for him. They've got the whole hospital on alert, said Lucy. All right, you guys keep looking. I'm gonna go on shift, okay, said Cindy on her way out. Tomorrow she will see Kevin. He will tell her everything. The guilt didn't bother her at all. Because it had all been done with the best of intentions. She'd saved a man's life. Besides, she didn't trust the cops at all. But in order to make up her mind, Cindy, it was necessary to hear the story of the bone. After lunch, David showed up at the station. The young investigator was clearly in a bad mood, and noticing Cindy at the post, immediately jumped on her with accusations. What were you looking at? And how? Basically, a bedridden patient could have escaped. Well, first of all, you don't have to yell at me, Cindy burst out. And secondly, we can't put a guard on each patient to keep them safe. Anyway, what's all the fuss about? What is he, a criminal? Did you find out anything about Kevin? No, we haven't. The investigator spoke in a calmer tone of voice. Well, then maybe you found out how I got kicked out of my own apartment. Or maybe you found my stepmother? The girl snidely. The investigator threw an angry look at her and, waving his hand, ran to the resident. Despite the incidents of the morning, the duty passed quietly, and by the evening everything quieted down. Well, a man decided to leave. What's wrong with that? He's a free man, and no one has the right to keep him here by force. But Cindy couldn't understand why that fact made the investigator so angry. The police had nothing on him. On the contrary, the sick man was a victim. He was attacked, but instead of investigating the circumstances of the attack, the police quickly put Kostia in the criminal list and began to look for evidence against him. The next day, as she approached the Great Fountain, Field saw a bored Kevin on a bench and waved at him. She was burning with curiosity, especially since she saw a large sum of money in dollars in his glove box. And even then, she realized that Kevin was not as simple as he tried to appear. Hi. To be honest, I was afraid you wouldn't come. He smiled, holding out a bouquet of red roses. It's for me, so unexpectedly embarrassed girl. This is for help. I couldn't have done it without you. Listen, I'm so hungry, maybe we could eat somewhere. She nodded in agreement. Half an hour later, the young people were sitting in a cozy restaurant with a homey atmosphere. What's all the commotion at the hospital? Kevin asked. I hope you didn't get hurt. No, to tell you the truth, no one got hurt. Of course, there was a lot of commotion in the morning. The nurse gave the duty nurse a beating, and by the evening everyone had forgotten all about it. The only one who was very unhappy with what had happened was the investigator. He's very zealous about your case, finds out who's really doing it. That's true, by the way. Who are you? What did you get yourself into? You want to tell me? Smiled at the Field. Yes, easily far away. Your town. I came to make a deal, a good deal. All the paperwork was ready. All that was left to do was sign. A huge amount of money was invested in this project. We worked on it for almost a year. And in principle, it seemed strange to me at once that our meeting was scheduled in a railway station cafe rather than in the office. But I did not listen to my intuition and did not go to the cafe. I woke up in the hospital. And as you can see, they didn't find any ID on me. Well, maybe it was a coincidence. What if it was a common mugger, the Field suggested. I was thinking the same thing. But these people they were supposed to meet have disappeared. No cell phone service. No one's answering their cell phones. And what kind of burglars go for a thin file? They're after purses to decorate something they can get away with quickly. What are they going to do with the paperwork? No, the usual burglars are unlikely. Well, then I don't understand why you didn't tell the coroner and file a report. Surprised. Oh, Cindy. I thought such naive people didn't exist. The boy smiled. The police about such matters can only do you harm if you're not in league with them. You can't trust anyone, and you can only count on your own strength. You see, when they beat me up, I was still conscious. I heard everything. They wanted to get rid of me, so they decided to load me in the trunk and take me to the city. But at some point I heard a dog barking and the voice of its owner. I guess they scared them off. This man and his dog had thwarted my robbers' plans. In short, the police are certainly no help in this case. I decided it would be better if everyone, including my partner, thought I was missing. I'll find the bastards myself and return the documents. How can people like that do anything on their own? I didn't understand the field. Maybe you should at least let your partner know. It's easier to find a way out together. No, I don't need to. I'll check out my partner first. Something tells me he's involved in this case too. Although, of course, I could be wrong. We'll see. Time, as they say, will tell. Why don't you tell me what happened to you? Why are you living in a hospital? Did your relatives kick you out? No, I have more relatives, she said sadly. My father died a year ago. That's when the fun started. My stepmother somehow managed to kick me out and sold the apartment. How come? Did the stepmother have a right to the property too? Kevin asked. Well, she and the kids were registered in it. And it's not even a question of what she was entitled to and what she wasn't. This woman forged all the documents and gave her paw to whoever she needed. And now, according to all the papers, it turns out that I voluntarily discharged and was agreed to sell my own home. How so? And the saddest thing is that my case is your investigator. Yeah, Kevin shook his head. You can see from him that he won't make a move for free. But don't despair. I have good connections. I'll help you solve your issue. You just have to wait a little while. As soon as I sort out my affairs, I'll take care of yours right away, he promised. Thank you, of course, thanked the field. Only time is running out. Yes, everything will be fine, smiled the man. And now let's eat. Finally, such a wonderful evening. Thank you for your support, thanked Cindy. I'm going to leave now. Cindy, let's walk around the city for a while, or better yet, let's go to the movies, Kevin suggested. I don't want to go back to an empty, strange apartment. I don't know. A movie is definitely not an option. Otherwise, I won't be able to get back by 10 p.m. and I'll be sleeping on a bench. That's not a good prospect, you know, she laughed. Look, it's not normal to live in a hospital. I can't get my head around it. Let me help you and get you an apartment. Do you have money? No, I don't need it. I'm fine with it. The field said no. Let's just go for a walk. I've got a couple hours to spare. The month of October was surprisingly warm and dry. The young people were walking along the alley of the city park, inhaling the sweet tart, fragrant scent of autumn leaves that still held the warmth of the summer sun. The girl was quiet beside Kevin. The young man reeked of strength and confidence. Next to him, she forgot about her hardships and sorrows for a while. Cindy, tell me about your stepmother. Who is she? How do you have any idea where she might have gone? He asked. I don't know much. I was young then, but as far as I remember, this woman ran away with the children from her ex-husband. Bought a ticket for the nearest train. She didn't care where she was going. That's how she ended up in our town, where they met her father. I don't know. I only remember that he brought them to our apartment and told them that now they would live here. I was 7 at the time, and at first I was even happy. I didn't know what hell was ahead of me. I thought of this woman as my mom, and moms are all kind. I remembered my mom and believed that all moms are like that and there are no others. Did Wendy hurt you? Kevin asked. Not at first. We lived like a fairy tale for the first 3 months, and then she and Dad got married and everything was different. Not only that, but she hated me. Sam, her youngest, was 2 years younger than me, and he was tolerable enough towards me. But over time, after watching how his mother and sister behaved, he too adopted their manner of communication. Molly, my half-sister, was always picking up my stuff, and Sam could just hit, push, or kick me out of the room for no reason. And Dad, did he have no reaction to that? He didn't. No, at first he told me to be more lenient with them, to give in because they had a hard enough life. The kids have been through a lot, and when the situation changed far not in my favor, he abruptly stopped noticing everything in the family became the main stepmother. And he drank a lot. As I realize now, it made it easier to turn a blind eye. Wow, Kevin was amazed at his softness to ruin the life of both himself and the child. Well, thank God. It's all in the past and will never happen again. The most important thing now is to find your stepmother and bring her to justice. Yes, but where do we find her? I mean, they could be anywhere. And it's not necessarily in this town. They used to live in a village somewhere. Well, it's like a needle in a haystack, sighed the girl. Don't worry, we'll find it, confidently said the man, just before the version of the lady a little time. The young people were already approaching the gates of the hospital, as suddenly a guy in a hoodie jumped out of the alley and with all his might pulled Cindy's bag, which she was holding in her hands. The girl was not confused, grabbed the purse with an iron grip and pushed the thief. The guy lost his balance from surprise and fell to the ground. The hood flew off his head, and Cindy gasped in amazement. Sam, she exclaimed at once, recognizing her half-brother, but he jumped up and ran away. What was that? Asked the man. Do you know him? Yes, that's my half-brother Sam, said Cindy. Too bad he ran away. And his face looks very familiar to me, Kevin muttered, thinking frantically. No, I can't remember where I met him, but he's definitely familiar. I'm sorry I didn't react. I was just confused when I saw his face. And then you called him by his name. It's okay, don't worry about it. You're still too weak for a fight like that. So your brother's in town. Kevin's thinking. Yes, he's in town, and he's robbing. The girl said, It is urgent to tell the investigator everything. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Let's not tell him anything. He's so shady. David, when can we get together again? Kevin asked, taking Cindy's hand. I have the day after tomorrow off. Great. Then we'll meet at the same place, same hour. I called my high school buddy here. He used to be a cop before he went into private investigations. I think he might be able to help us out. Cindy's been talking all night. Sleep wouldn't come. The girl thought about the Animal Brothers. She, of course, even then saw that the guy was very spoiled, always thinking only of himself, but she had no idea that he would become creative. The next time Cindy came to the fountain, Kevin did not meet her alone. Meet my childhood friend Michael. We used to sit together at the same desk, Kevin said. Nice to meet you, Cindy smiled. Cindy, you have to remember as much information about your stepmother, sister, and brother as you can. Surnames, names, dates of birth, and any little thing you can remember will be helpful, Michael explained. All right, I'll have it ready as soon as possible. Michael soon ran away on business, and Cindy and Kevin decided to go to the movies. The girl noticed that today the guy was silent and constantly flying in his thoughts. Are you all right? She asked. I remembered where I saw your brother. He's one of the attackers. Yes, it cannot be so, was surprised by the field. Slakta has always been a hooligan and now is the same. You've seen how he hunts for women's bags. But I myself realize that he is just a pawn in someone's big game. And if we can find him, I think he'll have a lot of interesting things to tell us. About your stepmother, too, by the way. Do you have a picture of her? No, Cindy said, but I know where to find it. At least it's worth a try. 3 years ago, he was always making mistakes in his friend's driveway. Sergei lives across the street from my house on the first floor. They've even made a room there for gatherings in a room designed for wheelchair users. Now that's interesting. Can you give me the exact address? Michael and I will be there today. Okay, but please be careful. It's a very questionable crowd. You haven't fully recovered yet, she cautioned. I don't think Sam's going to crack that easily. I don't think he's scared of you. You don't know my friend very well. I didn't go to him for nothing. Michael has good connections in every town, including the police. Kevin, is there still no one looking for you? Were you surprised? It's very strange. A man doesn't come back from a business trip and nobody cares. That surprises you too, the guy smirked. Well, parents, they live far away and don't know. That's understandable. But it's my partner's behavior that never ceases to amaze me. He should have sounded the alarm a long time ago. And he's not talking about it. And your family? Is your wife wondering where you've gone? Cindy asked gently. But it's much simpler here too, the boy smiled. I'm not married. So all suspicions lead to your partner. But it turns out that the one. The next day in the department to Cindy came Michael. The man told her they could catch Sam. The guy turned out to be talkative and told a lot of curious information. "When can we talk?" Michael clarified. "Tomorrow morning there is one on my back today. I cannot leave," the girl explained with regret. "Do not worry, he will not go anywhere from us. Until we leave him all the information. And then what will you do with him?" Take into account, Slavka has always been characterized by a vigorous imagination. "All his information must be carefully checked," she warned. "Naturally, we'll take it into account." Michael gave the girl a sheet with the address, saying that as soon as she was free tomorrow, she should come there. The address was the city police station. When she saw Kevin at the entrance, she hurried over to them. "Hi," Kevin smiled. "I have a lot of news. Sam's been arrested," Cindy clarified. "Not yet. He's testifying now, and then we'll see." The girl entered a dark and cramped office, which was filled with dirty junk. At the table sat Michael with some man, and opposite, Sam. The guy looked haggard, glaring furtively at those present. "You're the one who sixed all this on me." "Thank you." Sis immediately pounced on Cindy with accusations. "No, I didn't." "Did you get where you are?" The field said it calmly. "You've changed, I see. Not the wire that you used to be." "Well, not without your help." She changed the tone. "Sam, we talked to them to let me go. I told the girl everything. Was very sorry for the guy. Whatever it was from childhood, they lived under the same roof. It was hard for her to watch him ruin himself. After all, he wasn't actually bad. He was just unlucky with his mother." "Why did you sell my apartment?" The girl asked me point blank. "What did you think, that I'll put everything on the brakes? Like no, so no." "Sam, you're all adults and should realize that it's a crime and you'll have to answer according to the law." "I had nothing to do with it." "Mother's idea. What could I change?" The kid was justifying himself. "You had nothing to do with my head getting knocked on," Kevin grinned. Sam lowered his head silently. He had one thing on his mind, and that was to get out of here. Of course, he could tell a big lie, but it was obvious that people were serious, as if their lies wouldn't make things worse. So Slavka decided to answer all questions as truthfully as possible. "Where is your mother now?" asked Cindy. "And how exactly she was able to write me out?" "As the boss of the money slipped, of course. It's only in his power. Where my mother is now, I don't know." "Well, it's true. He and Larissa gave me some money and left. But you have any idea where they might have gone? Maybe you heard them talking the night before they left. I checked the field." "Well, I'm not sure, but I think she's at her sister's in Chicago," he admitted. Cindy walked out of the office, and there was something vile and nasty in her heart. "What's next?" she asked Bones. "The investigator will not go to Chicago to look for my stepmother. And we don't know if she's there." "Did you know about her sister?" Michael asked. "No, it's the first I've heard of it." "Well, we can assume that he didn't lie to us," Michael suggested. "Take your statement to the investigators today. Tell them you're your own people and you'll take care of it. I don't think he'll mind. Normal people will deal with your case. I hope he can find his stepmother and get the truth." Cindy tearfully thanked Michael and Kevin. She was sure that if it wasn't for them, no one would have been able to help her. "What about your case?" asked the field. "Did you find out anything?" "Yes, a lot. Your half-brother ratted out his customers right away. As it turned out, it was the usual gang of crooks, with whom was in collusion we company." Kevin replied sadly, "It's so hard to believe. We started everything from scratch. We even did the office renovations together. I thought of him as my brother. It's all money's fault. People lose their dignity and reason when they see it." She said it afterwards. "No, not money, believe me. Even with a lot of money, you can still be a human being. It's greed and avarice that's to blame. It destroys everything around us. I mean, we could have worked harder and made a lot more money in the end. But no, he wants it all right now. What will you do with him?" the girl asked. Michael had collected enough on him. "We'll give the evidence to law enforcement. Let him answer to the law. I'll take my share and start my own business. I have more than enough experience, and I've already built up a client base." "So you'll be leaving soon?" Cindy asked, unable to hide the sadness in her voice. "How could I?" Kevin smiled. "I have to deal with your stepmother first." "Thank you," she thanked him. "Cindy, I have a confession to make." the boy said quietly. It's been a long time since I've been like this. I think that our meeting on the train was no accident. I believe it was fate. Do you believe in fate and that accidents are not accidental? I do now. She lowered her eyes, trying to hide her embarrassment. Let's forget about all the problems and spend this day together. I suggest we go to the theater or the movies, and in the evening to a restaurant. That's a wonderful idea, the girl rejoiced. By the way, I have never been to the theater in my life. So today we will correct this universal injustice. Kevin smiled, hugging the girl. Cindy came to work in the morning. The head nurse was surprised to see a girl with a bouquet and eyes shining with happiness. She didn't understand. Presented Lucy with one eyebrow. That's the news. Come on, tell me about it. Oh, I think I'm in love, whispered the girl. It's never happened to me before. I'm moving in tomorrow and I won't be living in the ward anymore. So let me get this straight. Where are you going? Who are you going to see? Cindy, quietly you know that men can not only love, but also deceive. Who is he? A woman asked. He is the best man in the world. Smiled the girl. Everything is clear. But look, as if the ambulance did not ask back to live in the ward. I think you're in too much of a hurry. Lucy warned me. He's not like all bones won't cheat, Cindy said confidently. Lucy shrugged her shoulders and sighed heavily. She realized it was useless to talk to Cindy right now. The girl was madly in love and, of course, did not realize what she was doing. The next morning, Kevin was waiting for Cindy at the entrance to the hospital. The young people got into a cab and drove to the apartment that Cindy had rented for the boy. I paid for the apartment a year in advance. You'll live in peace until I take care of my business. Tomorrow, you'll go to the prosecutor. From now on, they'll take care of your stepmother, says Kevin. That's great. Where's Michael? Didn't he go to Milwaukee? No, he went to Chicago. Maybe he can track down Wendy, help the investigation, so to speak. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it right. 2 months passed. Cindy felt like the luckiest woman in the world. She and Kevin had the perfect relationship. The guy promised to take her back to Milwaukee as soon as he got his affairs in order. Maybe we should just give up on the apartment. I've got a big house in the country, and soon you'll own it. A guy once suggested it. No, I've done so much already. I don't want to stop halfway. The investigation has already proved I had nothing to do with the sale. The warden's in custody. Yeah, but it's like Wendy just vanished. If Michael can't track her, law enforcement can't find her. They will. Cindy said sure. She's a wanted woman, and sooner or later she'll be caught. Well, suit yourself, the boy shrugged. Maybe you're right. You know, I'll have to go back to Milwaukee. Just for a little while. You're coming with me. I can't right now. The girl at work said guiltily, I'm always short-staffed. How long will you be? I don't know. I think a couple of weeks, a month at the most. Let's just agree that you won't be sad. Kevin smiled, seeing that Cindy was upset. Okay, I won't. The girl promised, trying not to cry beside Kevin. She felt confident and calm at the mere thought that they would have to part for a while. It was becoming unbearable. Sad. But she couldn't leave now with Kevin and let her team down. Luck had helped her a lot in her time. For a whole month, she lived in anticipation. Work, home, work again. Only evening calls from the bone brought joy and optimism into her life. Michael called me today. The police have arrested your stepmother. You need to go to the prosecutor's office tomorrow morning, Kevin said after calling one evening. That's great. That means I can go home soon. She was glad. Well, I don't think the apartment's sold that soon. The deal, of course, the court should recognize it as illegal, but it will take some time, the guy explained. What about the new tenants? Emily has also suffered at the hands of this woman. It will be good if your stepmother pays her back in full. And if she doesn't, the lawsuits could go on forever. It's only natural that she wouldn't just walk away from an apartment she bought. I told you to move in with me, Kevin reminded her. And these courts can last for years. No, Kevin, I have to get justice. I was born and raised in this apartment. I'm not just gonna give up. When are you coming back? I feel so lonely without you, and I don't feel good. I miss you too. But you know what a mess I'm in. I hope it'll be over soon. Cindy talked to her lover until almost midnight. She hung up the phone and went to rest. Tomorrow was going to be a busy day. She had to go to the prosecutor's office and then run to work. "Come in," greeted with a friendly nod. "Not a very old man. Your relatives on her way in. Wendy claims you were aware of the sale. In fact, you took your share of the money." "That's true." The piercing gaze of Stephen gave the girl goosebumps. She knew that she was not involved in the sale of her apartment, but at that moment she felt like a criminal who had incriminated her innocent stepmother. "No, of course not," she argued. "I've decided to make a confrontation. I want to hear both sides at once." Wendy entered the office. The woman glanced at the wipe, but immediately, pulling herself together, smiled at the field. "Daughter, what on earth have you come up with? Someone must have put you up to this. You're in bad company." "Believe me, Stephen, I raised Cindy to be a decent person. Until recently, she was. Apparently, life in the capital has taken its toll on the child. Let's save sentimentality for later. So you're saying that Cindy was involved in the sale of the apartment?" The investigator asked. "Of course I am. And how can I explain this sale? We discussed everything and decided to share the money. Cindy was to buy herself a room in a communal apartment. True, she couldn't come to the deal. She had to take a class, so she asked me to sign for her. Who would have thought that the girl, whom I brought up since childhood and love as my own daughter, would do this to me?" Wendy theatrically blew her nose and wiped away a tear. Cindy was in a state of shock. Her stepmother had lied so truthfully that she almost believed herself to be slandered. It was true. The man shifted his gaze to Cindy. No, she shook her head and cried with resentment and hopelessness. "No need to cry," calmly said the prosecutor. "Anyway, you are a grown woman and realize that such actions are illegal." He turned to Wendy. "I'm not even going to look into whether you're telling the truth or not. There are facts, and those facts are that Cindy's signature was forged, and Cindy was in Los Angeles at the time of the deal. What am I supposed to do now?" The woman splashed her hands. "There are two options. First, you give the buyer the money. She returns the apartment. We turn a blind eye and close the case. And the second, you persist in playing the victim. There will be a trial, and you will be punished to the fullest extent of the law and get a real sentence." Stephen explained. "What money?" "I gave her most of it," exclaimed the stepmother. Threw an angry glance in the direction of her stepdaughter. "I see. So you'll take the second option. Well, that's up to you." The investigator nodded to the duty officer to take the detainee away. Left alone with Cindy, he sighed tiredly. "Well, you saw it all yourself, just as I thought the money would be, and that's too bad. I was not part of that sale," repeated Cindy for the umpteenth time. "Yes, you were. Let's hope she sits back and thinks about it and gives the money back after all." "Thank you, Stephen," thanked Cindy as she left the office that evening. She still hadn't heard from Bone, and she was so anxious to share the news with him. She really wanted him to come soon, to be there for her, to be supportive, to be there for her during this difficult time. Strangely, Kevin didn't call. He sat up late into the night in the kitchen with his phone in his hands. Cindy decided to go to bed. She'd call tomorrow. Probably didn't have much time. She reassured herself. Polemics. "I don't understand what's going on with you. You're all mixed up again. I was expecting an appointment for you. I should have taken the grandmother from room 1 for a cardiogram, not the man from room 5. Lucy resented, seeing that Cindy was sitting with her ugly face in her little sister's face. "Sorry, I'll fix it now, just winded." The girl excused herself a little. "Did you have something going on again?" "Tell me and keep it to yourself," suggested the head nurse. "No, really, I'm fine. I didn't sleep well, I guess. I don't feel very well." Lately, Cindy couldn't admit to her that she had been waiting for Kostya for 3 months. The guy had disappeared. Didn't let her know anything about him. She was very worried that something might have happened to him, and it made her feel bad. Everything was literally falling out of her hands. "You're very pale and you've lost even more weight. Promise me you'll go to the GP tomorrow and get some tests. I don't like you lately, Lucy. I promise. And again, I apologize for my absent-mindedness." The next day, the girl decided to go to Stephen. Maybe he had some news, or maybe he knew where Kevin had disappeared to. "Hello, may I?" The girl asked, carefully opening the door. "Cindy, it's very good of you to come in. I was about to call you in." The man smiled. "How's my case going?" Wendy never admitted it. "Well, no, who's gonna admit it? Your stepmother doesn't want to sign her own death warrant. You know, I had to let her go. I mean, she was so hard to find. Alas, not everything in our job is as easy and simple as it seems at first glance. There are laws." "Cindy, and according to this law, we were no longer authorized to hold her. Don't worry, everything is under control. The investigation is underway, and soon all those responsible will be punished." Cindy listened to the investigator's speech with disbelief. It seemed as if the man was making a good speech. The impression was that the man was saying well-learned phrases without even thinking about the essence of the conversation. "Tell me, do you know anything about Kevin? He's disappeared, hasn't called in 2 months. Did he ask about the field?" "Unfortunately, no. Divorced the man's hands. You know, sometimes it's like that. A man gets lost and doesn't let you know about him." "No, Kevin's not like that. Maybe you have Michael's phone number? You two know each other, right?" "No, I have his phone number," Stephen said tiredly. "If that's all you've got, I don't dare keep you. I'm sorry, but I have a lot of work to do." Cindy went out into the street with a feeling of desolation inside her. The investigator, who last time had given the impression of a serious and fair man, did not like her today at all. The man avoided talking, spoke in passing with some riddles. She didn't understand what was going on around her. It was a vicious circle. Today, Cindy lost hope for justice, and that she would be able to get her apartment back. After all, even if Kevin deceived her, what can be said about strangers who were completely indifferent to her fate? "Cindy, are the coordinators waiting for you?" the nurse said, approaching the post. "I'm coming." "Who's waiting?" "I don't know." Some handsome, solid-looking man winked at the old lady. Kevin rejoiced the girl, but what's he doing in residency? "Why there? How the hell should I know?" "Run along, I'll find out for myself." Seeing David sprawled in the chair, the girl could not hide her disappointment. She took one look at the investigator. "And who did you expect to see, Cindy?" "Kevin?" the man asked with a snide smile. "Do you know anything about the bone?" The girl was frightened. "I don't know, I should ask you." "Cindy, aren't you ashamed? Or do you want me to bring you in as an accomplice? Why are you covering up for a criminal? He escaped from the hospital with your help. Where is he now? I advise you not to lie to me, or you'll be in big trouble. The investigator threatened me." What criminal didn't understand the girl? Kevin himself suffered at the hands of bandits. He's a prominent businessman with a big firm in Los Angeles. I'm listening to the rest of this very interesting. David, you gotta be kidding me. No, Cindy, you're kidding me. I should have known you were in cahoots with criminals. As soon as you took the report of the sale of the apartment, you were fine. You got your apartment back. No, Cindy lowered her head, sitting down in her chair. What do you know about Bone? Why do you think he's a criminal? I know a lot of things. Kevin is a recidivist thief, head of a gang that operates out of Los Angeles and this state. Do you want to go on, or is that enough? Enough of the girl crying. I suggest that you tell me everything nicely, said David sternly. All right, I'll tell you everything. In a reflected voice, said Cindy. She didn't care anymore. She was completely confused about her life in this situation. She didn't know how to live her life and who to trust. That's all, David hummed. Having listened carefully to the girl, I need to find out where Kevin is now, not under what circumstances they met. Perhaps you know his acquaintances, his buddies? No, the girl said confidently. She did not know why she had decided to keep silent about Michael. Probably some inner voice told her that she should not be frank with this man. The initial shock of what she'd heard had passed. And anyway, she knew Kevin better than she knew David. And even if he was involved in criminal activity, that was no reason to turn him in. Kevin didn't do anything wrong. Cindy, on the contrary, has helped in many ways. If he's guilty of something, let the investigation sort it out without her help. Right. Well, we didn't get a chance to talk. Cindy, that's a shame. How do you afford your apartment? Or does a nurse's salary allow you to live on a shoestring? Kevin rented an apartment. You find something illegal about that too? The girl asked with a sneer. No, of course not. I was just wondering where you were going to live after the lease expired. Kevin, he left you. The man smirked. Don't worry, I won't stay on the street. I can be free. I've got work to do. Yeah. See you later, said the investigator Aksanov, the girl incredulous look. Her mood disappeared completely. She was angry with herself at Kostya. Be that as it may, he could at least call, say that he threw her to the mercy of fate, that he needed her only for selfish purposes and completely indifferent. Having finished her shift in the morning, Cindy returned home in a dejected mood, and when she saw Michael near the entrance, she couldn't believe her eyes. The man waved hello, heading toward the girl. Michael was finally happy to see her. What's wrong with Kevin? It's true that he's a thief, the head of some criminal gang. Michael laughed. Who told you such nonsense? David, the investigator, told me just yesterday. Cindy, I told you not to have anything to do with that man. He's not an investigator. He's a rogue cop. In fact, there's information that he's directly involved in the sale of your apartment. I was very surprised to hear that Wendy had to be let go. As it turns out, your stepmother has powerful patrons. Michael, you're missing from Bones. What was I supposed to think? Why didn't he call once? The girl asked reproachfully. Then you had your reasons. Kevin himself will tell everything when we meet. Did he come with hope? Cindy asked. The girl missed Kevin very much. He was kind, brave, sensible. She felt calm and warm around him. Without him, she felt lonely and insecure. No, I came at Kevin's request. I came for you, Michael said confidently. Look, the game has gone too far. It's not safe for you to stay in this town. Why haven't I done anything to hurt anyone? Well, there are several reasons. First of all, you're getting Wendy punished and your place back. But like I said, there are law enforcement people involved. You realize what they're going to face if they're exposed. They can't expect a man as powerful as Kevin to come to your aid. Besides, he's in the middle of a war with a former associate. You know he was assassinated. Even his parents had to be sent to another country. His enemy is looking for any way to influence him. After all, big money and freedom are at stake. If Kevin proves that the co-owner ordered it, he will go to jail for a long time. And he will. He's already got enough evidence. That's why Kevin stopped contacting you and didn't even call. He was afraid his associate wouldn't get to you. Now do you see why he hasn't come forward in all this time? Not exactly, but it makes sense. All right, I'll try to get some time off work. I'm not sure they'll let me go though. Cindy, what work? We're talking about more important things right now. Don't tell anyone you're leaving, pack your bags, and we have to leave in an hour. I'm sorry, but I don't have time for persuasion. If you refuse to go, we can't help you. I'm going, Cindy said confidently, weighing the pros and cons. She loved Kevin and was more inclined to trust him than the investigators. David hadn't inspired confidence in her from the start. And if Michael was telling the truth, the investigator was to be feared. Cindy, I've missed you so much at last. I was worried. Kevin smiled, hugging his girlfriend. I missed you too. You shouldn't have worried. Who needs me? I've got a lot going on here. I've been laying low myself, solving problems. I even had to send my parents away to feel safe. I'm sorry I couldn't keep my word and come back in a month. I didn't think my marriage would be this strong. You're their companions? Yes. I had no idea William would cause me so much trouble. I thought I could see right through him, but it's the opposite. Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. I didn't think my stepmother was capable of leaving me on the street either, and this is your house. The girl looked around at the neat two-story cottage. No. Michael has been kind enough to lend me his place. We'll live here for now. It's safer. I don't know, I took off work and didn't have time to tell anyone. It's very inconvenient. So call and tell her you had to leave, but don't say anything else. Okay, the girl agreed, nodded. We have evidence against investigator David. As soon as I finish up after my companion, I'll get right on it. I felt even then that he was not to be trusted. Oh, and I've given up hope of getting my place back. I never realized it was so difficult. You'd think I'd have proof that I didn't sell the place. But there's nothing you can do about it. Do not worry, everything will prove, assured her boyfriend. All the next week, the girls spent at Michael's house. Kevin, together with his friend, left in the morning and returned late at night. Cindy realized that she had no other choice, so she had to wait patiently. Apart from Bones and Michael, she had no friends. Cindy trusted this man completely, hoping that he would not deceive. And there was so much kindness and warmth in Bones' gaze that it was impossible not to trust him. That evening, Cindy did not leave the window. For some reason, she felt uneasy. Maybe it was because Kevin hadn't called all day. He usually dialed her several times during the day, wondering what the field was doing. Did he miss her? The girl glanced at the clock. It was well past 0 o'clock. It was also eerie to be alone in this huge house in the middle of the night. Cindy quickly went downstairs, and a few minutes later, someone rang the doorbell. The girl knew that Kevin and Michael have their own keys. They opened the gate and the front door themselves. Moreover, Kevin had strictly forbidden her to even go near the gate, let alone open the door for anyone. Maybe his cell phone's dead and he doesn't have his keys, she suggested as she left the house. Who's there? She shouted at the high gate. Kevin, it's you. Cindy, it's not Kevin. He sent me for you. He and Michael had some problems and couldn't come themselves. The girl listened attentively to the unfamiliar voice. Who are you? I'm his friend Cindy. There's not a minute to lose. Hurry up, impatiently repeated the stranger. She opened the gate and saw a solid middle-aged man and breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't look like a bandit and had come all alone. What's wrong with Kevin? Cindy asked excitedly. I'm fine, but it's not safe for you to stay here. Let's go, Kevin's waiting. I'll just put on my jacket and close the door, Cindy said eagerly. Kevin was silent the whole way. Cindy didn't understand what had happened, but she was glad that Kevin had made himself known. We have a long way to go, she asked the driver impatiently. No, we'll be there soon, the man said, looking at the passenger in the mirror and catching a cold stare. Cindy fell silent. For some reason, she felt uneasy. For a moment, she regretted going out in the middle of the night with a stranger to an unknown destination. Here we are, he said loudly. Come out. Cindy saw an old, ramshackle little house with a dimly lit fire in it. Start. Looking around, she realized that the house was on the outskirts of town. Everything nearby was dark, no dwellings anywhere in sight. Where have we come? Scared, asked the field. Where are the house guests? Let's go. As a girl, I assumed she had fallen into a trap. In the house sat a huge brute at the old stove and silently tossed wood into the fire. Stay here for a while. I think Kevin will be more cooperative when he knows you're in my hands, said the stranger with a grin. You, William, are Kevin's other companion, Cindy guessed with tears in her eyes. Yes, a former friend and companion. Don't be afraid if you don't do anything stupid. You'll be all right. The man flashed a baleful glare that made Cindy go cold inside. You are mistaken. Kevin and I don't know each other very well. I don't think it's a good idea to blackmail him with me. We're nothing to each other. In a shaky voice, she admitted, That's where you're wrong. William grinned. I know my companion very well. He's a real gentleman and would never let such a pretty girl get hurt on his account. Go to your room and don't even think of running away. You won't make it. The man opened the door to a small room and pushed an old iron bed into it. She cried. She couldn't forgive herself for making such a mistake. Falling so easily into William's clutches, thus causing a lot of extra trouble. Kevin. When Kevin drove up to the house, he sensed something wrong. Normally, Cindy never turned off the lights downstairs, even when she went to bed. Looking through the dark windows of the house, he was afraid to think that something had happened to her. Quickly, he ran into the house. The boy went to the bedroom just as he had feared Cindy would. There was no search of the entire house. The man came to despair. He was alone with his problems. Michael was out of town. He left on a business trip. What to do and where to run? He had no idea. And early in the morning, his cell phone rang. Kevin didn't usually answer unfamiliar numbers, but thinking it might be ringing, Cindy picked up the phone. "Listen," he said nervously. "But hello, Kevin." William grinned. "I'm calling about the tape. Very nice girl. Frankly, I'm jealous of you again." "I've been jealous of you all my life. Tell me, why do you always have the best?" "Where's Cindy? What did you do to her?" Kevin hissed into the phone. "I wish I'd gotten rid of you as soon as I got back to Milwaukee." "Oh, too bad." "Cindy, I have the price of her life. Your share of the firm and the dismissal of all charges against me. Not too much, you'll agree, as opposed to a human life. You can refuse, of course. That's your right. But know this. Cindy's fate is in your hands now," William explained. "She cries all the time. She's waiting for you to set her free. Okay, no firm and no money is worth the sacrifice. Release the girl. I'll fulfill all your demands. Where do you want me to go?" "How smart are you?" The man laughed. "You don't keep after fools. Cindy will be by your side after all the papers are signed." "Okay, give me a couple of days. I can't make it that fast." "All right, I'll be waiting." "I hope you're smart enough not to do anything stupid," William said. Kevin didn't have time to answer when he heard a short beep and tossed the phone aside. He had to do something urgent. It would take a couple of days to figure out where she would pass and release her. The last thing he wanted to do was to give his firm to a damned enemy, whom until recently he had considered a friend. How Michael and I hadn't been connected yet. He was unlikely to accomplish such a difficult task alone. After sitting on the line for 2 hours, Kevin still couldn't get through to his buddy. Cindy opened her eyes and saw before her a tiny cat behind bars. She cried, remembering what had happened to her the day before. She mentally scolded herself for her rash act. After all, if she hadn't opened the door to William, none of this would have happened. Crying a little, she realized that tears couldn't help her grief. Then she decided to pull herself together and try to escape. There was silence all around. It seemed as if she were all alone, and maybe she was. Perhaps those bandits had locked her in the house, leaving her alone. Cindy went to the door and tried unsuccessfully to open it. "Hey, is anyone alive? I'm thirsty and need to go to the bathroom," she shouted loudly. A couple minutes later, there was some commotion behind the door. A minute later, the door creaked open and a huge man appeared on the doorstep, who yesterday had been sitting silently by the stove. "Why are you yelling? What do you want?" he asked in a disgruntled, sleepy voice. He had the smell of booze on his breath, and Cindy realized that the man had been drinking all night. Even now, he was looking at her with cloudy eyes, staggering in different directions. "I have to go to the bathroom. And you're going to starve me anyway?" she asked unhappily. "Let's go," nodded the brute, throwing down a log. "The facilities are in the yard. You don't have to worry. I'll go myself." "Found a fool," laughed the man. "Come on, go ahead." Cindy realized there was no easy way out. When she went out into the courtyard, she lost her spirit. There was only Cindy around, with the forest visible behind her. No hint that there was a living soul nearby. There wasn't. "Could I sit by the stove for a while?" asked the girl. And returning to the house, she wanted to take a good look around. She didn't want to go back to the small room, which looked like a prison cell. But the guard said she could use the net. "You can run around." The brute brought the girl a piece of bread with sausage and sat down across from her with a bottle of vodka. "Do you want to warm up?" He laughed a nasty laugh. "No," shook her head. "Cindy, thanks for lunch. I'm going to my place." The girl felt uncomfortable when she saw him drinking vodka from his throat as if it were water. She'd rather be alone in her room than in the company of such a lunatic. Toward evening, Cindy heard loud music outside the door. The kid was first yelling songs, and then he started swearing. At first, the girl assumed that someone had arrived. But after listening, she realized that he was talking to himself. After half an hour, everything was quiet. Only the receiver sounded loudly throughout the house. As she approached the door, she heard loud snoring and realized that her guard was sound asleep. Cindy tried to open the door, but unfortunately, it was locked with a secure deadbolt. Opening the door, she held up the thin, rusty bars. But there wasn't enough strength to be scrubbed from the metal, though it staggered a little in her hands. In desperation, the girl picked up a small stool. She realized that she had a chance now, too. At any moment, William could have arrived. Who knew if she would ever get the chance again? Gathering her courage, Cindy slammed the stool against the grate with all her might. The old metal could not withstand the pressure, and the grate came crashing down to the street. The glass on the old window shattered. The girl did not wait for the guard to wake up and jump out through the narrow window. She ran with all her legs towards the forest. When she reached the dense trees, she stopped to catch her breath a little. Only now did she realize that she was barefoot and wearing only socks. Outside, dusk was rapidly thickening. The girl about her friend was shivering with cold and fear, but she needed to get out on the road to get to Milwaukee as soon as possible. Cindy had already been wandering through the woods for over 2 hours. Even as she started out, she heard a noise from the road and headed that way, but apparently she lost her way. It had long been dark outside and the icy wind was blowing. And the girl walked barefoot, not feeling, and not having from the cold feet. She had already lost all hope of getting out of the forest, but noticing a dim light in the distance, she went rather hoping that she would still get to the highway. When she got closer, she realized that she had come to a house, which apparently belonged to a forester. She timidly knocked on the window. She waited at the door. An elderly woman came out of the house. "Hello," Cindy said. "Please help me. I've lost my way." "Where are you going, sweetheart, in the middle of the night, looking like that? Who are you running from?" Squinted the older woman. "I can explain. You can come in. I'm cold, Cindy," the woman said, looking around. "Now I'll make tea and we'll play you. My name is Nicole. Who are you?" "I'm Cindy. I need to get to Milwaukee right away. I think I heard some cars in the woods. I tried to follow the sound, but I got lost. Milwaukee's about 150 miles from here." "How do you think you're going to get there like that? Did someone drive you into the woods?" asked Nicole. "No. I was running from bad people, but it's a long story. In a nutshell, I was tricked into coming to your land. They wanted to blackmail a good friend of mine. My God, what is this world coming to? Such times have come that it's scary to go out on the street for. A woman read it. And you're alone. You live here with your husband? Stephen is a forester. He should be here soon. You stay with us tonight, and tomorrow he'll take you to the bus stop. You'll take a bus and get to Milwaukee in a few hours." "But how are you going to get there like that?" the woman asked, looking at the new girl. "I don't know," Cindy shrugged. "I didn't have a chance to take my boots. I had to run as I was." "Well, we'll think of something. I've got rubber boots. I'd rather ride in them than socks." "Thank you. I'll pay you back if I can," she promised. At that moment there was a noise, still in the car, and then she looked at the women. "Who is it?" "Stephen is back. Don't be afraid," she said, looking out the window. A sullen, stout man entered the house, and seeing Cindy, looked questioningly at his wife. The girl had lost her way. "Good thing she came out to us," Nicole explained. "Are you the one they've been looking for all over the neighborhood?" asked the forester. "Who are some majors in a jeep? I understand they're staying at the hunting lodge. Did you do something wrong?" "No, she was running away from those bandits," Nicole intervened. "It's become very scary to live. Only bandits around. I should probably leave," Cindy asked uncertainly. "They may come here too." "They can't. I talked to them 20 minutes ago, said I hadn't met anyone. They think it's theirs to shake. They went that way and rushed over. Stay here, and when things calm down, I'll get you on the road. It's not safe to go in there right now. Do you have a cell phone? I need to make an emergency call." "There is a phone, but there's no service, so you can't call," Nicole explained. William nervously paced the house. He couldn't believe the girl had left them like that. "How could you let her go when you're already on the play?" he shouted at the guard's grief. "Yeah, how could I think she'd take the window out? She looks defenseless. I told you to lock her up in the cellar. And now I am already guilty," justified the man, grabbing life by the head. "Okay, we'll deal with you later. I gotta call Kevin right away. I don't think she'll make it to Milwaukee before morning. We got a little more time." "Yeah, she's not gonna make it at all. I'm sure she won't," said the big guy. "You know, barefoot in a sweatshirt. Yeah, she'll be lost in a field somewhere. So don't worry about it. You know a lot, smart guy. Shut up. You're no use to me." You're nothing but trouble. Taking the phone, William went outside. It was the middle of the night, but time was running out. Kevin had to get Kevin up to speed. Cindy could be in Los Angeles by morning. I'm listening. Kevin said in a sleepy voice. It's me. William barked. Your girlfriend really wants to go home, crying, constantly wriggling from your resting place. If a single hair falls from her head, I don't know what I'll do to you, shouted Kevin into the tube. From his helplessness, from the fact that he can't help Cindy. I wanted to throw up and throw down. Michael was already on the spot. He contacted his buddies, who at that moment had to keep track of where his partner was calling from. Listen to me. There's been a change of plans. I'm not waiting any longer. I have to leave the country tomorrow. If you want to save your Cindy, I'll meet you in the morning at mile marker 130 on the Milwaukee side of the highway. With all the paperwork, of course. But I haven't had time to get the papers notarized yet. I can't find a notary in the middle of the night. I don't have time to find a notary in the middle of the night. You'll find one. It's not a problem for you. If you're not here by 10 p.m. Unfortunately, no luck on the line. And it's all your fault. You said William and dropped the call. Kevin shit and tossed the phone aside. Michael woke up to the noise and, entering the room, asked what was wrong. There's no time, Kevin said, no time at all. I have to give in the papers in the morning. And what are you going to do? Directly asked Michael. What do you mean what? Give in the damn company. What kind of question is that? Come on, don't get so worked up. I'll contact the guys and find out where the call came from. We've got a little more time, Michael said. And when he got off the phone and turned it off, he said, the news, unfortunately, is disappointing. Untraceable, Kevin guessed. The signal is too weak. The call was made about 150 kilometers from Milwaukee. I checked this location on the map. It's an approximation. No exact location, unfortunately. They're meeting somewhere in the area. Hopefully, everything will go smoothly there too, Kevin said. Yeah, but I don't think we'll be able to find the girl in the meantime. It's not even worth trying. William is very determined. He has nothing to lose, and I can't risk politics. I'm gonna put him away sooner or later. You won't do anything to him, Michael replied. If he flees the country, it's unlikely we'll get him. Well then, let's keep it that way. We need to leave early so we don't get stuck in traffic. Better not be late. I'm really worried about Cindy. And the politician woke up early in the morning and started to get ready for the road. Nickel was preparing breakfast at the stove. And Stephen nervously narrated afterward. I'm going to go to see the situation, and you stay in the house and do not go anywhere. If everything's okay, I'll take you to the next village, and from there you can go to Milwaukee. Thank you. I feel so bad for causing you a lot of trouble, the girl admitted. The main thing is that your abusers did not find out that you were hiding here. With such people, it is better not to joke, so we will not hurry, explained the man. Nickel brought Cindy rubber boots. Example all the same in this form is better to go than the floor undressed. I'm very grateful to you, and I'll definitely find a way to return your things. It won't be a big deal, even if you don't. It's nothing compared to your problems, said the old woman. The forester arrived an hour later. The man said that everything was calm. He also said that yesterday's Jeep is at the hunting lodge, so we need to be as careful as possible. And after breakfast, the girl thanked Nickel for help and went to the car. The woman crossed the boy, wishing good luck. Only driving on the highway, Cindy breathed a sigh of relief. All along the way it seemed to her that William was about to appear and take her to the hunting lodge with renewed vigor. She realized that if she hadn't accidentally stumbled upon the woodsman's house, she would hardly have made it out of this area. And as she passed the intersection, Cindy glanced at a familiar car parked at the curb. Stop. Abruptly, she shouted. A woodsman. What's the matter? I think my Bones car is there. Let's go back, she asked. The man didn't understand anything, but listened to the girl and backed up. Cindy looked carefully through the window and made sure that it was indeed Kevin's car. It was he who excitedly pronounced the field. Wait, the windows are tinted and you can't see who's inside. I'll be right out, you look out the window. If it's your buddy, you come out. And if it's not, hide. The forester commanded. Stephen parked the car on the opposite side and went to the car. Kevin. The guy noticed that a stranger was heading towards him. He didn't get out of the car. He opened the driver's window. Kevin shouted joyfully to Cindy, who dashed off to meet the guy. Kevin and Michael did not understand anything. After all, first they had to give the blackmailer the documents, and then already take the guy. And how are you here? Kevin quickly got out of the car and hugged the girl. I'm sorry. Fortunately, I managed to escape. How did you get here? I couldn't believe it when I saw you. So you escaped? I looked around, Michael. Yeah, as recently as last night. He's a local forester. He and his wife have been very helpful. You get in the car quickly. We have to get out of here. Michael commanded. Cindy thanked Stephen for his help and got into Kevin's car, which immediately sped off. Stephen looked at the car and hurried to get away. What time is it? Michael asked nervously. It's 9 p.m. William will be there in an hour, answered Kevin. Great. Then I'm calling the police. He won't be able to get away with it this time. Michael rejoiced. Who would have thought that everything would end so well? Cindy, you're doing great. You're a very brave girl. We were lucky that we arrived early and Cindy noticed us. So now I just handed over the paperwork and that was the end of it. Once again, what a low and mean person. My ex-partner, Kevin, smirked. Now we'll take you to a safe place and come back. We need to finish off your companion today. There's too much trouble. He's created you lately, Michael pronounced, calling for backup on the phone. And Cindy couldn't believe such luck. She still didn't realize that everything had ended safely. Kevin was there for her, and that was the most important thing. She felt happy around him, and she wasn't afraid of anything. What's up? Cindy jumped up when she saw Kostya entering the cafe. Anything is better than okay, the man said cheerfully. Now my partner won't be able to get away with it, and in combination with all his deeds, he'll get a lot of time. Fortunately, I was able to save the company. Michael is waiting for us at the police station. How are you feeling? Will he be able to testify? Of course, we're on our way to Milwaukee right now, so I checked the field. I take it I'm out of danger now. I can go home. My enemies are gone, but that still leaves your stepmother and your brother. Let's deal with William, and then we'll come straight to you. There's a lot of work to do there, too. We'll have to ask Mishka to accompany us again. Okay, agreed. Let's go. I just need to stop by and change. I don't want to walk around town like this. Kevin had long suggested she leave Wendy alone, forget everything and go to him. But Cindy didn't want that to happen. First of all, she wanted to take her apartment, which had always belonged to her family. And secondly, the girl did not want to be tied to Kevin only because she did not have her own place. Life is tricky, and who knows what surprise it will present in the next moment. A month later, Kevin had settled all his affairs and was ready to go with Cindy. And the young people sat in the carriage, drank tea, and made plans. Do you need to continue your studies? The boy insisted. As soon as everything is over, we'll get married. And next year, you'll enter the institute. I'll have a personal doctor. Kevin laughed. Maybe even open our own clinic in the future? You wish, laughed Cindy. I'd like to get the apartment sorted out. And you've got your eye on a private clinic. We're young and full of energy. We've got our whole lives ahead of us. Remember, you said those words to me a few months ago, also on the train. Only then you promised that I would find a real prince. The girl smiled. And you did not find one. Pretend. Kevin was offended. No, you're better than that. You're real, she said seriously. And you're real. As the first time I saw you, I immediately thought that there are few girls like you now. And so sincere, naive, kind, and fair, believe in miracles. Frankly speaking, a little jealous of your future husband, and could not have guessed that it is me who will have such a good fortune. In the morning, Cindy and Kevin were on the spot. They decided to stay in a hotel, and Michael was to join them in a couple of days. We won't do anything without Bear. He has good experience in this business, and we could make a mess of things. Okay, I'm off the hospital for now. I have to go visit Aunt Maria and Peter. I didn't even get a chance to tell them I was leaving, and it's a little inconvenient with work. I let good people down. In the evening, Cindy and Kevin bought a big cake and went to visit their former neighbors. "Girls, Cindy, where have you been? I can't find a place. I thought Anna had beaten you up," says the woman. "To see, Maria, how much has happened. But hopefully soon everything will be back to normal," smiled the girl. "Let's go to the kitchen. I'll pour you some tea. Too bad Peter's at work. He's very worried about you too. We've got a lot going on here. Your apartment's been sold again." How surprised Cindy was. What is it? Emily must have freaked out when she found out the apartments were disputed and sold it out of escrow. Yeah, the more confusing the situation gets. "It's hard," Kevin sighed. "Well, that's okay. We have enough evidence. Sooner or later, the court will return the apartment and hopefully punish everyone involved." 2 days later, Michael arrived. The man first went to the prosecutor's office to his good friend. Presented all the evidence he had collected. "Thanks, buddy. You could say you... Did something happen again? Or just remembered me?" "Yes, a lot of things happened. But one thing at a time. I didn't come alone. You wanted to track down the dangerous criminal and authority figure Kevin. Well, I brought him in." And Kevin walked through the open door without asking permission. The guy sits down on the chair next to Cindy. And the investigator, not realizing what was going on, shifted a confused look from the girl to the guy and back again. "Hello, David," Kevin said calmly. "I was told that you wanted to see me." "No, not anymore. Is the investigation of your case over?" "I have no further questions," the investigator replied dryly. "That's a shame. But I have a couple of questions for you. There are rumors that you are involved in the attempted assassination of me, and in the sale of the apartment, which belongs to Cindy, played not the least role. What do you think?" Kevin smirked. "What do you think you're doing? Did you bark?" The investigator blushed. "Get out of my office." "And you get out with him." David cast an angry glance at the politician. "Have a nice day," smiled Kevin. "Come on, Cindy. We'll take care of things here without us." On the way out, the young people ran into Stephen, who was entering the police building accompanied by 2 officers. Kevin asked the man about himself. "Yes, but in a very bad mood." "That's okay. Now we cheered him up," winked Stephen. "Will David be arrested?" Maria was surprised. "Of course. And everyone else will follow him, including your stepmother." "At last, the investigation is over," said Michael. "You won't need my help anymore. Wendy is detained with her and all the others in the case." "What do we do now?" asked Kevin. "Do you need to stay a while longer? Cindy's apartment will be returned, but I must warn you that it won't be soon. I'm sure the current owners will sue, and they can be understood. Therefore, everything can drag on for years. I advise you to find a good lawyer to handle all the issues," Michael explained. "Thank you, we will do that. But we have to get home. I've got a lot of work to do, and it's time to take a break from all this mess." Kevin smiled. "Michael, how did she manage to pull all this off?" Cindy asked. "Is it really that easy to sell an apartment without a person in it?" "No, Cindy, it's not. But maybe Wendy was sure you couldn't get to the bottom of it. Notice she had people in cahoots with her who wouldn't let you get to the bottom of anything. Well, you would have gotten to the bottom of it." "So what?" He knew full well in advance that he wouldn't deal with your apartment because he'd gotten his cut. He turned out to be a rotten employee. Unfortunately, sometimes people like that work in the police force. It's very good that this werewolf was exposed in time. The same goes for the head of the housing department. If it wasn't for him, your stepmother wouldn't have succeeded in the first place. Unfortunately, everything or almost everything can be bought nowadays. And what will happen to them? Olia asked. "Everyone will get their time, what they deserve. I'll tell you more." A lot of heads flew from their seats. So all our efforts were not in vain. There were a lot of people in the courtroom. Cindy at first did not want to attend the meeting, but at some point she just wanted to look into the eyes of this woman who had lived in her house for many years, whom she had respected in her time and tried to love as a native person. When she saw her stepdaughter, "This is how you thank me for feeding and clothing you all these years. I'm glad you put me away. I've always had a lot of respect for you. I'm sorry, but no one gave you the right to leave me on the street," Cindy said. Without making excuses to her either, whispered Kevin. She's even now trying to make you feel guilty and play on your feelings. After the verdict was announced, Cindy was not relieved. On the one hand, she was glad that the criminals had been punished, but on the other hand, she felt sorry for her stepmother. How are you feeling? Kevin asked. You'll get your apartment back soon. It's only a matter of time. I don't know. Everything seems to be fine, but it feels empty inside, smiled the field sadly. A few years passed. A solid man opened the door to the office of the head doctor of the Perinatal Center. Behind a huge bouquet of flowers could not see his face. Hello, this is where the most beautiful woman in the world works, he asked in a loud bass. I'm busy. What's your business? In a disgruntled tone, asked Cindy without taking her eyes off the papers. It's always like this. Kevin came into the office. You can find a minute of free time for everyone, but not for your beloved spouse. Kevin pleased Cindy. Why didn't you tell me you were coming by? What are those flowers? We're going to someone's house. Cindy. This proves once again that it's time for us to go on vacation. I think it's overdone. Actually, it's our wedding anniversary. Oh my God, I totally forgot. I'm sorry. And by the way, we have 2 trips to the seaside too. There were, and tomorrow night. And no refusals accepted, Kevin said seriously tomorrow. And the kids. The kids are already at their grandparents'. You just need to pack, and in a day we'll be swimming in the warm sea. Yay, I clapped my hands. A happy woman hugging her favorite person. You're the best in the world. The first time we met on the train, she compared herself to Cinderella. And Kevin had seriously said that such a beautiful girl would find her prince. He didn't know then that his words would become prophetic, and he would be her fairy tale prince.